Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 20. Yushi summoned Steward Fen and shared the general gist of things. He ordered, "Go investigate. What the heck is he going to marry?" Steward Fen was completely at a loss too. He carefully asked, "Yushi, might there be a misunderstanding in this situation?" Yushi coldly asked, "What misunderstanding?" Steward Fen cautiously analyzed, "Since historic times, there have been several small or unimportant families who have taken advantage of their surnames to forcefully connect themselves to the famous sages of the past. Either way, there's no way of proving anything, so they're only trying to make themselves look better. But, this is the first time this old servant has heard of anyone bragging that they're the descendants of Kwafu. First of all, Kwafu is a character in the classic of mountains and seas. We don't even know if such a person truly existed, so unless this woman is actually extraordinarily tall, to the point of shocking everyone, nobody would believe her. Secondly, Kwafu is not a sage. Forcefully claiming that to be one of his descendant, doesn't really make one more impressive. If he were inviting this person home to be a family soldier, that would naturally be fine, but to be a concubine, it really can't be considered a good quality." Yushi emotionlessly said, "Perhaps other than being sturdily built, she has nothing else to seduce men with." Steward Fen tried to read Yushi's mind and answered, "Truly? Such a ploy for gaining recognition can't be allowed. Today this one says that she's Kwafu's descendant, tomorrow another one will say they're Pangu's descendant. 2 days later, someone else will say they're Chang'e's descendant, Mengpo's descendant, Guanxian's descendant. What would that prove? In the future, if you don't somehow connect yourself to a prehistoric god or monster, you won't be able to marry anyone? Later on, the capital will be filled with all sorts of demons and monsters. How could that be allowed to happen?" Yushi felt a headache coming on. "Stop talking." Steward Fen hurriedly shut his mouth. Then, he changed the topic and said, "Young Master Zhong must have been tricked by someone. After we get to the bottom of this, he will be the first person we will reveal the truth to." Yushi angrily rubbed the space between his eyebrows. What a mess this was. Speaking of spirits and gods, Steward Feng started lowly, "I was just about to tell Yushi. Last night, news from the palace came out. They said that if anyone amongst the nobility links Third Prince's drowning incident to spirits or gods again, they will be tried for treason." Yushi smiled. "So, is the Emperor finally feeling anxious?" Steward Fen lowered his voice. "He went into a rage several times, but he can't possibly publicly talk about this issue. Otherwise, more people will know about it. He can only secretly leak some news and try to intimidate the people." Steward Fen wasn't Yushi's only confidant. Yushi directly ordered other people to do many of the things related to the outside. Steward Fen didn't know much about them. He slowly asked, "Who started all those rumors to create such a mess?" Yushi could tell what Steward Fen was implying. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes as he answered, "It wasn't me." Steward Fen hurriedly said, "This old slave has been foolish. If I had done this, I wouldn't have been so light-handed," Yushi declared generously. "What is the Emperor most afraid of right now?" Steward Fen gathered his thoughts and answered, "It is definitely another incident involving another prince. If something really did happen that would seem like, the rumors that him ascending the throne came from dishonest methods is true." Yushi then asked, "Then which prince is he most scared of having an incident?" Steward Fen answered hesitatingly, Fourth prince." Yushi scoffed. Steward Fen wiped at the beads of sweat on his forehead. His voice was practically inaudible. Right now, he's most afraid that something will happen to me." Yushi spoke normally. He didn't bother lowering his voice all. Even if something happened to Xianjing and Xianqian, the worst consequence would be more people being able to point fingers at him using what the oracle had said back then. But what of it? What kind of evidence is that? Besides, even if all the princes died, there still might not be anyone capable of usurping his throne. Steward Fen's heart started beating faster upon hearing this. He nodded, true. But I'm different. Yushi lowered his head and smiled. At such a crucial time, if something happened to me, it would cause several of his disgusting, previous deeds to come to light. If I were the one plotting everything, the first person I wouldn't spare would be myself. Yushi looked outside the window and casually asked, the pond in our courtyard. Has the ice melted yet? Steward Fen didn't know why Yushi was suddenly asking about this. He answered honestly, not yet. This pond is connected to the moving water outside. The layer of ice on top of it can't be that thick, Yushi drawled. Say, if I were to step on it, would I break that layer of ice? Steward Fen's expression immediately changed. He hurriedly said, this old servant was making things up just now. This obviously has nothing to do with Yushizi. Don't overthink. Yushi's expression was normal. I'm not. I just think that at such a point in time, it would be very interesting if I were to drown in an ice hole in the middle of the night. Steward Fen was so agitated that the vein in his forehead had become visible. If anyone else casually brought this up, he would believe that they were only joking around. But the person in front of him had once secretly eaten Hanshi-san for half a year without telling anybody. He had almost died from arsenic poisoning. Yushi said, actually, the day that the royal princess had ordered you to tell me to stay far away from the edge of the water, I already considered this. Steward Fen anxiously said, You. I'm just teasing you. Yushi laughed. I don't really want to sleep in an ice hole anymore. Yushi thought of what his spy had told him before. His gaze darkened. I need to figure out first, what concubine he's planning on marrying. Steward Fen heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You really are. Steward Fen wanted to laugh, but thinking back on what Yushi's life had been like these past few years, he suddenly felt a twinge in his heart. It's best that you don't have such silly ideas, said Steward Fen in a comforting manner. It's quite late. Will Yushizi rest now? Yushi nodded, then stood and headed to the bedroom. Steward Fen ultimately couldn't completely relax. He was preparing to leave for a bit and couldn't keep an eye on Yushi overnight. He could only call a few family soldiers over and order them to strictly guard the door and window of Yushi's bedroom. They were not, under any circumstances, to allow him to leave in the middle of the night. Even if they couldn't stop him and let him get out, they still had to follow him, maintaining a distance of not even a foot away. The family soldiers acknowledged his orders. Steward Fen calmed himself down afterwards, then headed out. At the same time, the lights were still bright in Xing Palace. Emperor Chang'an sat on the bed in the warm room. His expression was dark and his voice low and raspy. Could it be that Suiyu is being unreasonable again? Cabinet member Liang Qi sat on a small stool and gently shook his head. Doesn't seem like it. Young Prince Yu acts decisively. If he were the mastermind behind this, third prince probably wouldn't have been able to live until now. Emperor Chang'an's eyes were stormy. Is that so? That year when he ate those things, I already thought that perhaps he had such thoughts and was purposefully breaking my heart. Emperor Chang'an sighed, sounding very tired. I ask myself and believe that I haven't mistreated him in any way. Among all my children, he's the only one I've spoiled since young. Back then, I had even been tempted to recognize him as my own. Absolutely not. Liang Qi rose to his feet. He bowed and said, Young Prince Yu is talented beyond others, but he has an antisocial personality and cruel nature. If he's uninterested in becoming crown prince, all is well, but if young Prince Yu is actually interested and your majesty hastily admits him, your majesty might place the fourth and fifth prince in grave danger. By then, the country will be in turmoil and there will be no peace in the world. Speaking of Xianjing and Xianqian caused Emperor Chang'an's expression to become even worse. If the two of them were impressive in any way, why would I even have these thoughts? My sons shame me. The two princes have just reached adulthood, there is still time to teach them. Liang Qi was worried that Emperor Chang'an truly wanted to recognize Yu Shi because of his lack of offspring. He added, "We can first disregard how difficult it will be to calm both the public and royal clan down if you were to admit him as a prince. If in the future, young Prince Yu asks about his birth mother, how does your majesty plan on answering him?" Emperor Chang'an lowered his gaze. "She was just an old lover I had from my estate. What if young Prince Yu is determined about getting all the details?" Liang Qi was extremely worried. "Even if he doesn't ask, in the future, if your majesty wants to declare young Prince Yu to be the crown prince, your majesty must eventually give the royal clan members and all the officials a believable reason. Otherwise, this decision will be considered unjust and unright. There will always be people who would try to use this to cause trouble. Of course, your majesty might not actually want to make him the crown prince, which leads us back to the question at hand. Can young Prince Yu allow the other two princes to live, then?" Emperor Chang'an leaned against his pillow and sighed. "You think that he'll allow the two of them to live if I don't admit that he's my own? Young Prince Yu currently isn't interested in the fight for the crown prince position. Besides, he has a different surname, which makes this unjust and unright. As long as your majesty doesn't recognize him, he won't be able to become a threat." Liang Qi lifted his gaze to glance at Emperor Chang'an, then softened his voice. "In order to ensure the safety of the princes, if anything happens in the future, as long as your majesty can be harsh enough, it will be possible." Emperor Chang'an instantly opened his eyes. He coldly asked, "Are you telling me to personally get rid of him?" Liang Qi knelt. The inside of the warm room was quiet for a long time. Emperor Chang'an leaned against his pillow and shook his head. "I don't have many sons left, he's the last hope I have that I've left with the royal princess. If anything happens in the future, regardless of if he's willing or not, he'll have to, never mind. You may rise." Liang Qi knew that Emperor Chang'an couldn't bear to, so he didn't continue trying to persuade him. "Keep looking into it," Emperor Chang'an said after a long pause. "I don't think this looks like Sui Yu's work either." Liang Qi stood up. He pondered for a moment, then asked, "Your Majesty, regarding young Prince Yu's background, does he already know?" Emperor Chang'an responded, tone tinted with fatigue, "He's known since 6 years ago. I still remember how he broke through so many of the palace's lines of defense and charged inside in the middle of the night, covered in snow. It was right here where he asked me." Liang Qi asked, "What did he ask?" Emperor Chang'an pressed on the corners of his eyes. He didn't want to reminisce about that event, so he merely waved his hand to signal for Liang Qi to leave. The eunuch outside the warm room drew back the thick curtains for Liang Qi. A gust of cold wind snuck through. Emperor Chang'an was coming along in his years, so he shivered slightly and started coughing. End chapter. Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 21. Zhongyuan invited Steward Fen into the small study. As they waited for the servants to bring tea, the two stared at each other in silence, before looking away. Then they accidentally looked each other in the eye again and quickly averted their gazes. It was incomparably awkward. Zhongyuan felt ashamed. When he was still young, he truly hadn't been human. He had lived in the side courtyard of Prince Yu's estate for half a year, and during those times, he had always brought Steward Fen trouble. Steward Yan personally steeped a pot of good tea for them to drink and sent it over. Zhongyuan glanced at Steward Yan, catching his attention. Steward Yan brought the other servants out. Zhongyuan reflected on his words and actions of the past few days. He didn't know how he had offended Yu Shi that he had to send someone to their estate in the middle of the night. And deliberately sent the person he was afraid of the most, Steward Fen. Did he want Steward Fen to scold him? Zhongwan poured tea as he probingly asked, how? Is there anything that we can do for young Prince Yu? Steward Fen hurriedly shook his head. Nothing. This old servant intentionally snuck out after Yu Shizi retired for the night. Zhongwan thought, you're trying too hard to avoid suspicion. Yet with a guileless expression, he said, oh, really? After His Majesty's birthday, will young Master Zhong accompany the people of Prince Jian'an's estate back to your feudal fiefdom? Asked Steward Fen. Zhongwan did not intend to return. However, he said, of course. A sigh escaped Steward Feng's lips. Zhongwan drank a sip of tea. Gently and cautiously, he asked, does Steward Feng think I should leave sooner? Steward Feng quickly shook his head. No, no. Young Master Zhong is thinking too much. Then he slowly said, once young Master Zhong leaves, you most likely will not return to the capital again, right? Zhongwan nodded. Of course. Steward Feng's gaze proved complicated. A moment later, he said, if this old slave may be so bold as to ask a favor, in light of this old slave taking care of your honored self before, would young Master Zhong manage a few things for me? Speak. Steward Feng thought for a long time. His face flushed so red it seemed purple. Is it possible for young Master Zhong to reside in the capital for a while? Zhongwan almost said this was exactly what he had been waiting for him to say, but because he wanted to hear what Steward Fen had to say, he swallowed the words and feigned reluctance. That wouldn't be good for me. I've long since had no family members in the capital. Moreover, my identity is awkward. Whenever I encounter old friends and acquaintances, it's embarrassing. Also, Zhongwan looked at Steward Fen. You should be clear that in the past, young Prince Yu swindled me into going to his estate. To be honest, I'm quite scared of him now. Right now, we are only talking about Yu Shizi. Steward Fen bitterly laughed. A straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. The circumstances of Yu Shizi these past few years. Young Master Zhong naturally should be somewhat aware. Countless thoughts zipped through Zhongwan's mind. However, his mouth remained watertight. I've only heard that Yu Shizi temperament changed a little. He's not as gentle as he had been in his youth. More than that. Steward Fen was so worried. I'll be honest with young Master Zhong that Yu Shizi life until now was not easy. Upon hearing that, Zhongwan felt worried in his heart, yet his expression remained neutral. Then he feigned surprised. The royal princess and Prince Yu cherishes him so. On top of that, he has His Majesty's protection. So, how could this be possible? Steward Feng seemed to have many words stuck in his belly. He shook his head and said, I'm not sure about the matters with the imperial clan, but nowadays, Yu Shizi cannot afford to be idle. Zhongwan furrowed his brows and asked, why can't he stay idle? If Yu Shizi is idle, he would definitely cause some trouble. Whenever Steward Fen recalled past events, fear would fill his heart. In addition, he would do something huge each time. A few years ago, His Majesty brought the imperial clan members for the autumn hunt. Royal Princess was worried that a stray arrow would hit someone and did not want Yu Shizi to participate. Can your honored self guess what happened next? Unconsciously, Zhongwan thought something bad had transpired. Steward Fen continued as if he still had lingering fear. Yu Shizi shook off the people guarding him. He did not carry a bow and arrow or a long saber. He only brought along a dagger, riding his horse like the wind into the hunting ground. When he came out, his body was covered in blood. Thank goodness he had only suffered light injuries. However, no one knew what had happened to him after he had entered the hunting ground by himself. Nor did they know if it was fortunate that he had come out alive. That same year, the princess estate had been renovating their garden and constructed a 3-story greenhouse. The day the renovation was done, even the emperor came to take a look. The royal princess was busy looking over the matters inside and outside the estate and lost sight of Yushizi. She didn't know what Yushizi saw or heard, but he went to the top of the greenhouse. He drank until he was half drunk and then he sat outside of the handrails. If he were just a bit careless and fell down, he definitely would have died. The royal princess almost fainted from fear. On the contrary, it was our Prince Yu who was calm. He had some of the guards that were behind him slowly ascend the stairs to the top floor, and bring Yushizi back down. There was also another occasion when Yushizi had time on his hands for a string of consecutive days. He heard that a new snake tamer had arrived in the fifth prince's estate. He went to the fifth prince's estate to watch the snake tamer play a song and had the snake dance. For some reason, Yushizi found and grabbed a poisonous snake by himself, shaking it around. And the snake bit his upper arm. Fortunately, the snake's venom wasn't fatal. Not to mention, the imperial physician provided critical care immediately. However, because of this, His Majesty lectured the fifth prince an awful lot. There are countless similar instances. These past few years, Yushizi has taken every step towards exposing himself to a dangerous situation. If it weren't for His Majesty and the royal princess watching him so intently, who knows how many more incidents would have occurred. And this is often the case. As long as he's idle for a few days, it's inevitable that Yushizi would find something to endanger himself. This old slave is scared witless every day. Zhonwan firmly held onto the handrests of his chair. He sucked in a breath as he tried his best to speak in a natural tone. Young Prince Yu, why is he treating himself like this? As if he doesn't cherish himself. Steward Fen lifted the teacup, the contents had already gone cold, and took a sip. His lips moved. Yet not a word escaped. That you looked for me today seems to imply that you somewhat trust me to do something about it. Zhonwan said in a low voice, I don't dare to decline your request for help. However, I still need to know how I can help you. Just keeping him busy is enough, Steward Fen blurted. Divert his attention elsewhere. Don't give him time to torment himself. Zhonwan hesitated as he said, Are you sure that I can distract him? Yes, exclaimed Steward Fen, confident. Definitely yes. Young Master Zhong doesn't know, but Yushizi is very serious when it comes to matters involving your honored self. A dry smile spread across Zhonwan's lips. He did not believe it. You're overestimating me. Steward Fen quickly said, It's the truth. Does young master remember the last time, when that prefecture magistrate surnamed Xin had entered the capital for official duty? He came to the estate, using the excuse of an official visit to build connections. Yushizi seriously agreed to his request on the spot. Although after that prefecture magistrate had left, Yushizi threw a tantrum and found an excuse to make trouble for the fourth prince and argued with him, I could tell that Yushizi was in a good mood in the days following that. Zhonwan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Back then, Yushi had helped hide Zhonwan in the capital. He had agreed tacitly to their supposed love affair, which existed as a knot in Zhonwan's heart. Every time he thought about it, he would feel very guilty. He wanted to ask Yushi clearly about how he felt but was too embarrassed. Why shower affection on an uninterested party like this? Zhonwan raised his gaze and stared at Steward Fen. Hardening his heart, he said, Then I have something to ask. Steward Fen blurted, May young master go on? No longer caring about how he'd look, Zhonwan asked, Does Sui Yu holds affection for me? Steward Fen sat there, ill at ease. In the past, your honored self and Yushizi had interacted day and night. How could you not know? Yushizi had treated you so well back then. Why is it that you weren't aware? Zhonwan shook his head. Actually, he had asked Yushi before. Back then, Yushi had just broken off his engagement. Zhonwan insinuated that this time he successfully broke the engagement, but what about next time? The young Yushi automatically said, This time, We were both unwilling. Naturally, the engagement should have ended. Next time, if the other party is compatible, then the wedding will proceed. The young Zhongyuan dryly said, "Of course." Zhongyuan had seared those words into memory. From then on, he no longer dared to think of other things. He knew clearly in his heart, but for some reason, he still wanted to ask one more time. I want to know if he has that intention. Only then can I find something to occupy him. After a moment of careful thought, Steward Fen smacked the table. I think it's true. Zhongyuan looked up. Steward Fen didn't care about keeping up proprietary anymore. He shamelessly said, the first year that you had left, Yu Shizi had a difficult time. He nearly didn't make it. One day, Yu Shizi indulged in alcohol, and this old slave overheard some words he had meant to only say to himself. Immediately, Zhongyuan asked, what did he say? He said. The young Yushi drunkenly sat on the ground, holding a small jar of wine, head tossed back as he chugged it down. No one wants me alive. Father isn't mine. Mother isn't mine. My real father isn't mine. My birth mother isn't mine. My brothers aren't mine. My sisters aren't mine. Young Yushi swallowed the strong wine. He choked, then hoarsely said, Yuengi, also isn't mine. Steward Fen hid the beginning of those words from Zhongyuan, only telling him the end. Then in a soft voice, Steward Fen said, this old slave remembers that young master's courtesy name is Gui Yuan. Zhongyuan closed his eyes, turning his head and not letting Steward Fen see his face. Back then, you clearly said you wanted to marry someone else. Zhongyuan spent a long time calming himself, then he nodded. Within Steward Fen's expression existed a trace of hope. That's why I wished back then that Yu Shizi had said your name, young master. Moreover, blurted Steward Fen, after thinking of something else. The next day, I used an indirect approach to figure something out. I asked Yu Shizi if he regretted letting young master go. If he couldn't bear to be apart from young master after being together for so long. And Yu Shizi said. Steward Fen carefully thought over his words. At that time, Yu Shizi had been completely disheartened as he said, if I attain it, such is luck, if I do not, such is fate. He also said that there are some things that must be buried in the heart, never to be told to others for the rest of one's life. He's like this and so are you. Steward Fen paused and stuttered, before saying, then, a few days later, news arrived. As it turned out, you told someone in Jianan about matters regarding you and Yu Shizi. Zhongyuan concealed the anguish in his heart. He coughed, then raised his teacup and took a sip. Fearing that Zhongyuan thought he was mocking him, Steward Fen once again rushed to say, don't misunderstand young master. Ever since these kinds of rumors popped up, Yu Shizi became livelier. After hearing his words, Zhongyuan contemplated in what period this had occurred. And he realized that it was during the most unbearable times of both of their lives. Due to a freak combination of factors, two people, one in the capital and one in Nanjiang, unexpectedly relied on each other. In a low voice, Zhongyuan said, what do you want me to do? Just tell me and I'll see what I can do. Steward Fen was overjoyed. Then does this mean you agree? You won't head back to Jianan yet? Zhongyuan nodded. Before I can guarantee that he will be fine, I won't leave. However, even if young Prince Yu had felt a bit of affection towards me back then, it's not certain right now. Zhongyuan took a deep breath. If in the future, he's grown tired of me, please for the sake of our friendship, have young Prince Yu allow me to keep a full corpse. Of course, Steward Fen swiftly said. The next day, right after Yushi had taken his morning meal, he stared at Steward Fen with much astonishment. You went to find Zhongyuan late last night. Feeling on the edge, Steward Fen said, yes. After a stretch of silence, Yushi said, I told you to investigate and you go directly to ask him. Steward Fen staked it all. I thought Yushizi was really anxious to know, so I went to ask him directly. For a moment, Yushi stood at a loss for words. He suspected that he had infected Steward Fen with his bad habit. Then, Yushi stared at Steward Fen in a complicated manner, unable to express himself succinctly. Then what did he say? Did he think you had gone mad like me? Steward Fen wiped at his sweat. No. Young Master Zhong said. He said. Yushi found him simply baffling. He impatiently said, what did he say? Steward Fen hardened his heart and yelled, Young Master Zhong said that ever since he returned to the capital, Yushizi has treated him too coldly, completely not valuing the affection of the past. His heart has died, and as such, he decided to abandon himself in despair. He wants to take in more than 10 concubines, so that everyone in the world will know that at the side courtyard of Prince Yu's estate, the clouds above are green. The pupils of Yushi's eyes faintly trembled, carrying a tinge of red. Although Yushi was extremely angry, he burst into laughter. He actually thinks I'm treating him too coldly? Good. Very good. Then I'll let him know how it is when I'm being affectionate. End chapter. Those years in quest of honor mine. Chapter 22. Steward Fen accomplished his goal and was just about to leave when Yushi suddenly said, Stop right there. Steward Fen felt his heart drop but didn't let this show on his face. He bowed and said, Please give your instructions, Yushizi. Yushi stared judgingly at Steward Fen. These days, Zhongwan wishes he could stay 10 li away from Prince Yu's estate. How could he say something like that? How could he dare to? Obviously not. Steward Fen had spent a long time talking with Zhongwan last night. Their topic of conversation had only been Yushi. He had completely forgotten about the concubine issue and had only recalled that he hadn't remembered to ask that most important matter after returning to the side courtyard. Steward Fen knew that he wouldn't be able to hide his visit to Prince Jian'an's estate from Yushi. Left with no other choice, he could only make something random up on the spot. Steward Fen originally thought that the words he had made up were fairly close to Zhongwan's tone of voice. Who would have thought that Yushi was able to tell anyways? He calmed himself down and asked in response, Hasn't young Master Zhong always been like this? Is there anything he doesn't dare to do? Upon hearing this, Yushi felt his anger grow. Right. He's truly capable now. Steward Fen sighed too. With age, he's only grown bolder. Yushi was so angry he almost tossed his teacup onto the floor. You may leave. Steward Fen was allowed to leave, but he felt worried for Zhongwan after seeing Yushi's current state. He tried to read Yushi's mind and pleaded on behalf of Zhongwan, but this isn't young Master Zhong's fault. He's already 20-something and has been alone all this time. The sages all say that desire for food and sex is human nature and lust is a basic human need. He's a normal adult man who has never had anyone in his room. That's quite peculiar. Upon hearing this, the angry atmosphere surrounding Yushi became heavier. He lifted his gaze and asked coldly, Are you saying I'm peculiar? Steward Fen wanted to slap himself across the face. He had mentioned the very thing Yushizi didn't want to hear. Steward Fen hurriedly tried to rescue the situation. He said, No. Yushizi is younger than him. There's no rush. Steward Fen's adding of oil to the fire completely enraged Yushi. Yushi scoffed, Fine. His room is empty, isn't it? I understand. The more he spoke, the more mistakes Steward Fen made. He didn't dare to try and coax Yushi anymore and left feeling utter embarrassment. After exiting the main hall, Steward Fen wiped the cold sweat from his face and felt fortunate that Yushi's temperament was so unpredictable these days. The angrier he felt, the less clear his mind was. This was the only reason why Steward Fen had managed to fool the other. A loud bang rang out. It was unclear what object Yushi had thrown on the ground in the main hall. Steward Fen relaxed. Now that he was this angry, Yushi probably wouldn't have the energy to think about jumping into the ice hole anymore, right? Steward Feng felt pleased and satisfied. He headed out to busy himself with his own business. After so many rounds of shock, he forgot to get someone to notify Zhonwan of what had transpired. Inside Prince Qian'an's estate, Xian Rui and Xian Kengzin sat in the warm room, both staring at a bowl of medicine. Xian Rui had been staring at this bowl of medicine for the entirety of half an hour until he finally picked it up. Xian Kengzin glanced at him, then lowered her head to continue embroidering her purse. Xian Kengzin actually wasn't that great at embroidery. This was not obvious on large items such as in clothing but could be easily discerned on these intricate little items. Under Xian Kengzin's hand, the two peony flowers lost their form. The fox fur robe she had been working on for Xian Rui was only half done and was still tossed over the couch in her room. Xian Rui held the medicine and took a careful sniff before setting it down again. Xian Kengzin stated coldly, "Eldest brother, has the medicine cooled? Should I get someone to heat it up for you? What are you doing here again?" Xian Rui knitted his brows and continued, "Can't you do your embroidery somewhere else? I'm waiting." Xian Kengzin fiddled with the needle and thread in her hands. She half-heartedly switched from embroidering peonies into embroidering a tiger. "If you haven't drank this by evening, I'll drink it for you." Under his little sister's goading, Xian Rui picked up the bowl of medicine once more. Then, like he was tasting tea, he took a small sip. Xian Kengzin tried to hold herself back from exploding. Xian Kengzin lowered her head and prodded the tiger. For the first time, she could understand why those emperors of the past could fight and kill their own siblings over an imperial jade seal and created conflicts escalating even to the point of war. Forget the imperial throne. Xian Kengzin looked up to gaze at her own brother and thought, if I were a man, I would probably also fight you for this position of prince. She truly couldn't bear this anymore. Xian Kengzin lamented that daughters had difficult lives, then continued embroidering her tiger. A long time later, Xian Rui picked up the bowl of medicine for the third time. And set it down again. Xian Kengzin stared at Xian Rui, feeling numb. She thought that if they were both imperial princes, even if they shared the same birth mother, she definitely wouldn't go easy on him. "I would toss you to eat grass in your fief as early as possible." Another hour passed. Xian Rui seemed to have finally made up his mind. He stood up and picked up the bowl. His hands shook, then he set it down once more. Xian Kengzin threw down her embroidery, of which the design she had been working on already turned into a phoenix, and picked up the bowl of medicine. She leaned back and made to drink it. Xian Rui was shocked. He lunged forward and grabbed it from her. Half of the medicine spilled out of the bowl. "What are you doing?" Xian Rui panicked. "How old are you? How can you drink this?" Xian Kengzin picked up a handkerchief and dabbed the corners of her mouth. "How else? I want to go back to Qianan. If you refuse to drink it, then the only option left is for me to drink it." Xian Kengzin lifted her head to look at Xian Rui. "Haven't you been putting it off for so long because you want me to drink it for you?" "Bullshit." Xian Rui was furious. "That's because I don't have the guts? But that doesn't mean that I want you to be harmed." Xian Kengzin's eyes were filled with suspicion. Xian Rui was panting because he was so angry. He scolded Xian Kengzin from head to toe, then ordered her nanny to take her back to her room. Xian Rui looked at the bowl that was now only half filled. He sighed and instructed, "Go, make another bowl for me. Make it stronger." A while later, a servant brought the new bowl of medicine over to him. This time, Xian Rui didn't hesitate. While it was still warm, he drank the entire bowl. Outside the courtyard, Yan Pingshan patted the snow off himself and entered Zhonwan's room. "Had he drink it?" Zhonwan asked from behind the screen. Yan Pingshan nodded. "He drank it? Right now, he already has a fever." I'm thinking of letting the prince's temperature get a little higher before asking for an imperial doctor. This way it will seem more serious. All right. Zhongyuan tried to hold in his laughter. Did he get in an argument with the young miss again? Yan Pingshan looked at Zhongyuan, blame evident in his gaze. Why did you tell young miss to go over there? To goad him, Zhongyuan replied calmly. If I'm not returning to Qianan, Xian Rui must handle all the business of the estate on his own. He must learn to become stronger by himself, little by little. You're really not going back? Yan Pingshan seemed like he had a lot that he wanted to say. You're not doing this because you want to take a concubine, right? The person who came looking for you yesterday, wasn't that young prince Yu's trusted steward? Zhongyuan nodded. This time, if we are able to safely return to Qianan, there will be nothing else we need to worry about. We'll finally be able to live peacefully, Yan Pingshan couldn't help blurting out. How much blood and sweat did you put into making this possible? You're giving up a life of peace. Why? Zhongyuan smiled. Just consider it as my life being lowly. I'm not destined for peaceful days. Yan Pingshan stated in agitation, what strange things are you saying? I'm not saying strange things, Zhongyuan suddenly said. Do you know, what the library of Shijin, the old imperial preceptor Shi, was called? Yan Pingshan was momentarily dazed. He didn't understand why Zhongyuan was bringing this up out of the blue. What? Zhongyuan answered, Four Furs Room. Back in the day, when I first visited the imperial preceptor's estate and saw the placard over the library, I felt excitement surge in my chest. I thought that those 3 words were fantastic. There was delight in Zhongyuan's eyes. 4 furs, for the heavens and earth, my heart, for the citizens, my life, for the sages, my vow to keep learning, for the world, my attempts to bring peace. In my youth, I didn't understand many things. I was proud and arrogant, always believing that the trivialities beside me weren't worth mentioning. Only these 4 things were worth my time and effort. I felt that in the future, I needed to become a marquis and a minister so as not to disappoint my need for revenge. Later on. Fuck that, Zhongyuan said expressionlessly. It's already difficult enough taking care of everyday living in one's family. I didn't have those abilities at all. The imperial preceptor thought too highly of me. Yan Pingshan replied in agitation, since you value your life so much, you should return with us. Uncle Yan, Zhongyuan interrupted Yan Pingshan. With an exasperated smile, he said, but the ones I can't let go of aren't limited to the people in this estate. Yan Pingshan's breath caught in his throat. He softly said, you feel, for young Prince Yu. Let bygones be bygones. Zhongyuan poured a cup of tea for himself. He sighed, I don't want to cry. Yan Pingshan. Yan Pingshan felt both pain and amusement in his heart. He thought about it and said, but, if anything happens in the future. Zhongyuan nodded. Life and death are up to fate. I was asking for it. When he had first arrived in the capital, Zhongyuan truly hadn't planned on staying. But after thinking of what Steward Fen had said, Zhongyuan felt that he was probably needed more here. He clearly knew that Yushi's life was on a line. How could Zhongyuan leave? All right. I'll look after the estate. You don't need to worry about anything, Yan Pingshan assured Zhongyuan. Our prince is timid, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. His redeeming factor is that he's reliable. Things will be fine as long as he can marry a good princess consort who can handle family affairs. But young miss, Zhongyuan stated, don't force her to marry anyone. Listen to what she has to say about the matter. If all else fails, find a husband who can marry into the estate instead. With her temper, keeping him in the estate will ensure that she won't feel grievances in someone else's home. Yan Pingshan nodded with a bitter smile. Understood. As they spoke, Xian Rui's servant appeared. He said that for some reason, Xian Rui's temperature had suddenly started rising and he was already starting to spout nonsense. Zhongyuan ordered someone to invite an imperial physician over, then told that servant to act a bit more panicked. He needed to ensure that the entire capital knew that Xian Rui was close to not making it. After the servant left, Yan Pingshan stood up and pulled the door curtains a bit tighter to prevent the cold wind from entering. "So, what plan do you have?" Yan Pingshan continued inquiring. "Are you going to mend your relationship with young Prince Yu, first?" "How? Is there anything I can help with?" "No, I have to handle this on my own." Zhongyuan actually had a headache thinking about this, too. Things have escalated into the current situation, which is already awkward enough. His temperament has also changed a lot. I need to take a step back first, I think, then slowly show him that I meant well. Yan Pingshan didn't understand. How will you slowly show him you meant well? Zhongyuan had no idea either. He suddenly remembered something and said, "Many local goods arrived from Jianan a few days ago. Did we already give all of them away?" "No," Yan Pingshan answered. "We gave most of them to the palace and also gave some to the estates of older clan relatives. There are still some left. Grab some tea leaves and such," Zhongyuan ordered. "Send them to Prince Yu's estate under my name." Yan Pingshan nodded. Zhongyuan added, "Don't send them to the wrong place. The address is the side courtyard of the Prince Yu's estate." Yan Pingshan acknowledged, "I understand. It's cold today, so you shouldn't leave the room. I'll handle it." After saying this, Yan Pingshan left. Zhongyuan was quite anxious and hoped that his gifts wouldn't be thrown out by Yushi. Upon leaving Zhongyuan's courtyard, Yan Pingshan headed straight to the storehouse. He looked around in a circle before calling a young steward over. With furrowed brows, he asked, "Where are the remaining packets of Magian?" The young steward was confused. "Remaining? Didn't you say that we didn't need to give more gifts, so we should divide them and bring them to the master's rooms? Young Master Zhong loves Magian. He's probably already finished half of the supply by himself." Yan Pingshan finally remembered. "That's right. But what about the jars of alcohol? The ones we brought over from Jianan? Where are they?" "The cook asked for them," the young steward replied honestly. "The day before yesterday he said he was going to make steamed chicken with rice wine, so he took all of them. He used half, but young miss told someone to use the other half to make drunken braised goose." Yan Pingshan was very exasperated. "So, is there anything else left?" The young steward shook his head. "There isn't." Yan Pingshan appeared to be very frantic. The young steward hurriedly said, "There is. There are still a dozen or so live chickens from back home. They're being kept in the kitchen right now." "Bullshit." Yan Pingshan furrowed his brows. "Gifting live chickens that squawk and flap their wings. How would that look?" The young steward didn't dare to speak anymore. "Never mind," Yan Pingshan stated in exasperation. "Take me to see them." The two of them went to look at the chickens. Yan Pingshan bent over to observe the dozen or so female chickens shivering in the coop from the cold. He wasn't satisfied at all. How timid. They've also already lost a great portion of their feathers. They don't even look nice. They are a bit ugly. The young steward hit his own forehead. "Then let's gift eggs. These chickens of ours aren't pretty after the journey, but their eggs are fine. And fresh. We can wipe them clean and place them in a small bamboo basket, then wrap the basket in red silk. Aya, how dignified would that look?" Yan Pingshan thought about it and realized that this was truly a better alternative to gifting a few barely feathered chickens. He nodded hesitantly. "All right. This can somewhat count as a local good from Jianan. Hurry and prepare the eggs and have someone deliver them safely to Prince Yu's estate." The young steward eagerly rushed off. 4 hours later, Yushi, who had already calmed down, stared at the pretty eggs covered in red silk laying on his table. His expression changed. Steward Fen stood off to the side, anxious and fearful. "I heard," Yushi's voice was calm, "that when people gift red eggs, it means that something joyous has occurred. That they've had a child. Is that right?" Steward Fen carefully answered, "I believe so." "So, what does he mean by this?" Anger slowly built up between Yushi's eyebrows. "Is he provoking me, making sure I know he's about to take a concubine and have a son?" "No, no, no," Steward Fen hurriedly stated. "Young Master Zhong definitely doesn't mean that. He wouldn't dare. It seems to me that there's nothing he doesn't dare to do anymore." The angry fire in Yushi's heart was enough to burn this entire estate to the ground. "He's going to marry Quafu and has even sent me his and Quafu's red eggs. Is there anything else Zhong Guiyuan doesn't dare to do?" Steward Fen shook his head furiously. He really wanted to beat Zhongwan up, too. Hadn't they come to an agreement before that they needed to take things slow? What was he playing at? Steward Fen tried his best to coax, "No, no, no, this must be a misunderstanding. It's over for him." Yushi was so angry his eyes were red. "It's over for Prince Jianan's estate. It's over for the entire territory of Jianan." Steward Fen had a pained expression on. "Yushizi. What time is it?" Yushi looked outside. "Prepare my carriage." "Don't, please don't," Steward Fen tried to stop him. "It's almost high shi. The curfew drums have already been beating for a long time. If you leave now, you'll be breaking curfew. More importantly, it's freezing out there and currently snowing. It's impossible to travel in this weather. Tomorrow, we'll do something about this tomorrow." But how could Yushi listen? In the end, Steward Fen had to physically restrain Yushi from leaving. The anger took over Yushi. He had to drink 2 cups of 3-flower tea before restlessly falling asleep. At the same time, in Prince Jianan's estate, Zhongwan finally returned to his own courtyard after checking on Xian Rui. He took a sip of his hot tea, then stared at his teacup in a daze. Suddenly, he smiled. Perhaps Yushi was currently drinking the same type of tea as him. Zhongwan was a bit restless but also a bit excited. It had been many years since he had felt this way. Zhongwan remembered that Yushi enjoyed drinking tea. He wondered what the other had thought after receiving those tea leaves today. Regardless, the relationship between the two of them might be somewhat restored by now, right? It would be impossible to erase everything that had happened in the past. However, he was hopeful that in their next meeting, since he had taken the initiative to express his goodwill, then Yushi would probably not be so harsh anymore, right? Zhongwan's heart still trembled when he thought back on their last few meetings. Why had the once proper and gentleman Yu changed a bit too much? Zhongwan put down his teacup and laid down. The next morning, Zhongwan hardened his heart and told a servant to bring another bowl of medicine to Xian Rui. This time, Xian Rui didn't have the energy to hesitate. The fever caused his mouth to feel dry. Though he knew it was poison, he still drank it in one mouthful. Not even an hour later, his fever worsened. He threw up everything he had eaten that morning, his face looked a waxy yellow and his breaths were irregular. Xian Yu didn't know anything. Upon seeing Xian Rui like this, he became shockingly scared. Xian Kengzin pressed a handkerchief to the corners of her eyes and softly comforted, "Don't worry. You still have Jija." It would have been fine if Xian Kengzin hadn't said this. After she did, though, Xian Yu laid in front of Xian Rui's bed and started howling. Xian Kengzin watched him cry from off to the side and remembered their parents who had passed long ago. She teared up too. Immediately, Prince Jianan's estate seemed to be the center of a great storm, filled with harsh rains and relentless winds. The situation was extremely dismal. Zhongwan ordered someone to ask for an imperial doctor again. This time, the palace finally caught wind of the situation. Afterwards, Emperor Chang'an sent 2 imperial doctors over and gifted the estate several nutritional supplements, too. Emperor Chang'an had personally expressed his worry. The other imperial family members naturally started visiting too. Starting at noon, an endless stream of visitors appeared at the estate. It was truly too cold. Yan Pingshan was scared that Zhonwan would get sick again, so he didn't let him out to greet the visitors. Instead, he himself stayed out in front. Until the horse carriage of Prince Yu's estate arrived. Yan Pingshan was shocked. Someone's here from Prince Yu's estate, too. Who? Did Prince Yu send someone? It doesn't look like it. The person at the door was completely lost too. If they had sent a steward to bring gifts, they shouldn't have cleared the path beforehand? And a family soldier has come over to announce their arrival. Would even the stewards of Prince Yu's estate make such an impressive appearance when they leave their estate? Yan Pingshan replied in anger, "What are you thinking? That means young Prince Yu is coming. Where is he?" The person at the door almost became scared to death. Right now, it seems that he's already at the door. Yan Pingshan didn't have time to send someone to notify Zhonwan. There couldn't be no one present to greet Yushi. He forced himself to rush over. Yan Pingshan had given Zhonwan an intense scolding because Zhonwan had gone to check up on Xian Rui in the morning. Thus, he didn't dare to step out the door again. He stayed in his room, watching over his brazier while reading a book to pass time. Rushed footsteps sounded from outside. Zhonwan didn't even look up. There were many people at the estate today. He figured that Yan Pingshan was too busy and had told people to leave their presents in his courtyard first. Someone knocked twice on his door. Zhonwan lifted his head. "Uncle Yan? Come in, the door isn't bolted." Someone pushed the door open. Zhonwan looked over. Yushi brought with him a frigid atmosphere. His eyes were filled with subtle fury. He stared directly at Zhonwan. Zhonwan didn't yet know that he had been sold by Steward Fen and duped by Yan Pingshan. He didn't understand why Yushi was here. Temporarily, he froze and was completely dazed. Yushi didn't say anything. He only gazed at Zhonwan coldly, trying to control the anger in his heart. Outside, Yan Pingshan rushed over. He stood outside the door and panted, young Prince Yu, this isn't our prince's courtyard. You're..." Yushi slightly turned his head but his eyes were still on Zhonwan. He said in a low voice, "This is my first time here. I don't know the way. And no worries." After getting out of the carriage, Yushi had directly headed in this direction. Yan Pingshan was sweaty from chasing him the entire way. He bowed outside the door, "May your highness please follow me." Yushi gave Zhonwan a hard look, then turned around. Before Yan Pingshan could heave a sigh of relief, Yushi closed the door from inside and slid the bolt into place. A swarm of servants got locked outside the door. They stared at each other. Zhonwan inside the room. Zhonwan observed Yushi's expression. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't say that the other appeared very friendly. Zhonwan self-reflected. Had he done something else recently? No. Not at all. After their meeting last time, Yushi had told him to leave. Zhonwan had obediently left. Yesterday he had even sent tea leaves over. Could sending gifts also make people this angry? The air surrounding Yushi seemed to be on fire but his lips were quirked in a smile. Zhonwan instinctively felt nervous. Some things seemed to be different from what he had been expecting. Zhonwan furiously searched through his mind to see if he had done anything terrible recently that could cause Yushi to become this angry. At the same time, he reflexively took a step back. "Greetings to young Prince Yu." Yushi scanned the room. "Where are Kwafu and your son?" Zhonwan's mind went blank. What the hell? What son? Yushi saw that Zhonwan wasn't refuting him, so he smiled. You're planning on making the clouds above my estate green. Zhongyuan was even more lost. What clouds? Zhongyuan remembered what Steward Fen had said about Yushi being unreasonable during his mad spells. He guessed that the other was in a spell currently, so he didn't dare to enrage him further. He ambiguously stated, yes. Yushi became more furious. His expression turned even colder as he undid the strings holding his cape together and tossed the heavy article off to the side. It's good that you aren't denying it. Zhongyuan thought to himself, it's over, it's over. Yushi has truly gone crazy this time. Zhongyuan turned to the side and tried to leave, but Yushi tugged him over by the wrist, so that he was in front of Yushi. Zhongyuan tried his best to calm himself down. Holding on to the last bit of hope, he stuttered, did you read another strange spring book? About childbirth. Upon hearing this, a light flashed in Yushi's eyes. His voice deepened. I heard that you feel that your bedroom is empty. For an instant, Zhongyuan was stunned. Shortly after, his embarrassment became anger. Have some self-respect. Yushi scoffed. Which one of us is lacking in self-respect? Don't you feel empty? I've come to spend time with you. Yushi was very close to Zhongyuan. As he spoke, his breaths brushed over Zhongyuan's ear. Zhongyuan ground his teeth together and said, Young Prince Yu has just barged into an adult man's room, taken off his clothes and jumped on the other. It's a good thing you're not a girl. If you were a girl, I would be forced to marry you. Take a good look. Yushi tugged Zhongyuan's arms up higher, forcing Zhongyuan to become pressed against his chest. Who is jumping on who? If you were a girl, forget marriage. I probably would have already gotten you pregnant by now, right? Zhongyuan was furious. He couldn't push the other away. Instead, Yushi managed to restrain his hands together. Yushi stared closely at Zhongyuan. With a smile, he lowered his voice to ask, can you get pregnant? Zhongyuan used all his might to struggle against Yushi's hold. Suddenly, Yushi paused. He and Zhongyuan were so close together. He could clearly feel whatever reaction the other's body was having. Zhongyuan's ears instantly flushed red. Yushi realized something. His expression changed. Zhongyuan really wanted to find a crevice to burrow into. What the hell was this? Yushi still hadn't let go of Zhongyuan. On instinct, Zhongyuan turned his face away so he was no longer looking at the other. This was a way of preventing Zhongyuan from feeling more embarrassed. However, he still said, Go Yun, I've come to humiliate you. But your reaction makes things a little difficult for me. End chapter.